Good morning, Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us on 1FM 91.3 as well as live on Facebook. It is Tuesday, and so we have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room because it's Therapy Tuesday. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Jerry, we are going to be talking about teenagers and why they baffle us.
Yes, and Shaun and Glenn will also be contributing.
Yes,
Because they're not teenagers, but they baffle us anyway.
We remember our days, our teenage years, where I think I was a bit of a problem to my parents, I have to say.
Mine was just a few months ago, so sure.
Okay, we shall not divulge your age.
So, why do teenagers baffle us, Jerry?
Okay, let's go with the book stuff first, right? The boring stuff first. So we have the different developmental stages, and we have the, let's go with the cognition first. So Jean Piaget says that during this period, it's formal operations period, which means that the teens start to understand more of abstract concepts. And then Erik Erikson says that this period of time, there are two actually. So the main bulk would be identity versus confusion. So the psychosocial developmental stage. So they are trying to figure out the identity. There's a lot of, trying to find out what's going on with themselves and with themselves with another person. So that affects social relationships and also fidelity. So this stage is 12 to 18 years old. So the 19 to 40 years old would be intimacy and isolation stage. Again, it's relationship and figuring out love. So a lot of jargon there, right? Like, what are all these? So let's go with the fun stuff. I've got 7 different kinds of teenagers.
Wow.
Shall we go through? Yeah.
7 different kinds of teenagers.
I've already choked 4.
Okay, so parents with teenagers, you'll be able to figure out, which one of these 7 your kid fits into. And for us, right?
Which one we are.
I would like to know what kind of teenager I was back in the day. So go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, it's not exhaustive, okay? But let's go. The angsty teen, everything also angry. You touch also angry. You see a word also they're very prickly. Then you have the emo teen. Everything very sensitive. Would be crying. Would feel a lot. The know-it-all teen. So we've got that, in secondary school and JC. The person that seems to know every single thing, and you go the go-to person, and they seem to have the answer for everything.
Okay.
This is the one that I often deal with. The teen that self-diagnose. So they will come and then you hear their script and you'll be able to catch them and say, you went to Google all these signs and symptoms, right? Because they'll be diagnosing themselves with depression, bipolar, and strange personality disorders. And that they've been Googling. But they are trying to find a label.
Okay.
Then there's the where do I belong in the world teen. So so it can be social. That means where do I belong in my environment, in my home, in my school? Where do I belong on earth? So a lot of existential questions come out. The awkward looking teen. I know the stage is really strange for many of us because, the girls developing boobs, developing butts, finding our waists, but cannot find for some of us like me, and then the guys trying to pump the irons, but the body is still going through a stage of development. So at this stage, their bodies can be quite strange.
Okay.
And then the last one is the can touch me. They put a big fortress around them. You cannot touch them. No one can talk to them. No one can reach them. So that's the last one. Isn't it fun?
Awesome. We're going to delve into these 7 different types of teens live on Facebook, okay? While we take a listen to On Vogue, here's Free Your Mind on 1FM 91.3.
Free your mind.
Okay, so the 7: angry, emo, know-it-all, self-diagnosed, where do I belong, awkward-looking teen, and can't touch me.
But also, Jerry, these are not specific to teens. I mean, a teen can go through these various phases through their teenage years. It's not one describes one theme.
I was just one, and that is number 6, awkward-looking teen. And I was pumping iron all the time, trying to look better. No, it's true. It's true. I was number 6.
I remember you telling me that.
I was number 6.
I'm number 8.
What's number 8?
What's number 8? You never were a teen.
A daredevil. I keep on breaking my fingers, my toes, and my mother said it's full of daredevils. So
Accident prone and daredevil is different.
Yeah.
What? Clumsy.
clumsy, yes. So I want to be a clumsy teen when I was young.
It's very interesting, though, because listening to that list, my girls went through many of those phases. Many of those phases.
I mean, we can't pigeonhole anyone really. It was out of a lot of discussion with my team, and actually it was my interns who are just out of their teens, and they got so excited about this topic today. And I know later on they'll be listening in.
No, but I think it's nice. It's nice that you've broken it down like that. So, in a way, I see where FD is coming from, but then FD also has to understand that. I mean, I can say it because I know the main thing that was on my mind when I was a teen, just like your daughters and all that. I'm sure it could have been one of these numbers, 1 to 7, which led to, like, for example, for me, right? If I wasn't comfortable with how I looked, I could have possibly gone to number 2 and been emo as a result of that. You know what I mean? But I know the main thing for me, if I were to pick one of these 7, would be number 6. As the main thing.
Interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because you're absolutely right. There's always the one dominant thing that leads to other things, and that being awkward leads to many things.
Yes.
It leads to not knowing where I belong, and that not knowing where I belong leads to angst because you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Am I right, Jerry?
Yes. So although I've kind of like put it all down, you realize sometimes it can flow one into the other. I think what Ivan mentioned is also another category, but I deliberately didn't put it in. So the risk-taking teen. So growing up, we heard about the rioting, gang fights. Thank goodness it is still the pandemic, so riots and gang fights have not been something in the papers to read about. But you realize that all these different teens, right? You will hear a few things that they would say: insecurity. I'm not good enough. I can't live up to expectations.
Right.
So these are phrases that I keep hearing over and over again in the room and all through my career. So it hasn't changed through the 20 odd years that I've been in this business.
Wow. Really?
Okay. Oh, we're going back on air.
Yep.
Hold on,
Stand by.
Interesting.
Free your mind! Oh my god, I got shocked!
Sorry. I just gave Dr. Geraldine Tan a shock. That was with my beautiful voice, of course. On Vogue. Free your mind right here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. And I'm sure Jerry wasn't the only one I startled at that point. Okay, FD is looking very serious already.
No,
now.
I'm not. It's just that it's so funny that something like that can startle Jerry. But for Shaun and myself, it's just like, oh, it's another day.
Good point. Okay, we're talking about teenagers today with Dr. Geraldine Tan, and she has kind of come up with 7 categories, 7 different types of teens rather. Angry, emo, know-it-all, self-diagnosed, where do I belong, awkward-looking teen, can't touch me teen. Ivan brought something up, and Jerry said earlier on live on Facebook that she recognizes that there is such a thing, but she didn't bring it up today, and that is the risk-taking teen.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that the safest, sweetest type of teen is, you know what? Ovaltine, by the way.
Someone give me something to throw at this man.
Okay,
I love
sorry
that,
about
I
that.
love
Ovaltine.
All right, go ahead.
So Jerry, how do we deal with these different teens? I mean, surely they have to be dealt with differently, right?
Yes. Okay. I say yes straight up first, but many of them just are trying to figure out what is going on in their life, in their minds, in their world. So their world is quite messy, it's quite blur. So imagine that you have a pair of lenses, but the lenses are blurred. So they are having these pair of lenses, and they cannot figure out 5 different categories that I love to use: social, emotional, cognitive, physical, and spiritual. So these 5 areas we want to try and help them figure out. So the cognitive is not study harder.
Okay.
It's not about study harder. So they get very annoyed when they get pushed to study harder. And you would realize that many of them assume that is the correct way to deal with things. If my parents are not giving me attention, study harder. If my brother is ill, study harder. If my friend is not giving me attention, or I'm not a popular kid, study harder. But it's not about that. It's about that other part that I was talking about, the abstract concepts starting to develop or developing. And the world starts to click, certain things start to click, and it gets very overwhelming for them. It's like, how do I make sense? Oh, you mean that if somebody raises their voice, it could mean that they are, a couple raising their voice. It could mean that they are going to break up. So they start to fear, because they start to fantasize a lot more, understanding all this abstractness going around them. So that's one area, right? And then there's the social part. So because of study harder, you cannot hang out with friends. But you forget that during this period, they are trying to figure out who they are. So they need to find people that are similar to them. And therefore, they need to hang out with people, explore different interests, test different things, right? So that's why I then put in risk-taking behavior, because if done properly, they don't need to take risks. They can do it rightly and safely. Yeah.
But the boys and the girls are different, right? I mean, teenage boys, teenage girls, I think they're very, very different, at that age. I tell you, we'll continue to talk about this live on Facebook. In the meantime, here's Jordan Sparks with Tattoo on 1FM 91.3. Yeah, so how different do you think it is between girls and guys during their teenage years?
So gender is also another concept that is given. When the baby is born, they have no concept of what gender is. So when when we become teens, we start to understand what is a guy, what is a girl, what our roles are, what our bodies can do, and what our minds can do. And it becomes very exciting. I mean, if we think of it positively, it becomes very exciting. But when it is, used wrongly, so some of the girls become very promiscuous. Some of the guys use sex as something that is a trophy. They track the number of girls that they have bedded. And it's quite appalling sometimes when you hear them talk about it.
But isn't and I'm going to ask this question because there are parents
Yep.
out there who have got this on their mind. Isn't experimentation part and parcel of this whole discovering who I am?
Yes,
And I'm being
it
specific.
is.
I'm talking about sexual experimentation.
True.
Because you were like that when you were a teen, right?
No. It's something that a lot of people just don't want to talk about.
Ivan, you also like that when you were a teen, I know.
Yes.
No,
Why
I don't know. I was
do
just...
a confession on air? That's not nice.
No, but Jerry, isn't this all part of developing who you are?
Yes. So earlier I did mention, right? So let's say if done properly, we can all do it very safely and very nicely. But when there is dodginess, when there's hiding, where there's shame thrown in, where there's expectations, then it clouds the whole picture. So imagine a parent that dodges the topic of sexuality, you know, and say, oh, don't talk about it. This is so shameful, you know, it's so disgusting. And then this child will need, or this adolescent will need to go out and search for answers.
Yep.
And we don't know where he's going to find the answers. He or she is going to find the answers. As opposed to a parent being very open about it and say, oh, you know, there are changes in the body. You start to feel tingling in your tummy, you know, when you see certain scenes, or you start to feel an erection, or you start to feel strange feelings in your body, you know. And that's, once you normalize it as part of growing up, then they will experiment and they will explore, but in a much more respectful manner. Does that make sense? I see Glenn so serious and I hardly see him so serious.
Because I just want you to, you know, to say your piece, you know, before
Before Glenn says what he wants to say.
Yeah. Because I mean, out of all of us, I think I'm the only one who saved my virginity for, you know.
Really. I think that one I can attest to. I know it very well.
Okay, can we go back and stop telling lies?
Okay, here we go. Hands in the air and wave them like you don't care. Jordan Sparks with Tattoo right here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. Shaun just got a tattoo the other day. Maybe you can
wanna
show
see?
Jerry your tattoo.
He's going to take off his whole shirt today.
Just take it off.
Oh
Doesn't
my
matter.
God.
Okay,
Jerry.
Jerry. Tattoo.
Careful, Jerry.
Look at his tattoo.
What did I tell you?
Now also.
It's peeling.
Nice.
It's
What's
a
that,
sotong.
Pokemon?
It's a sotong.
No, it's a sotong.
A Pokemon.
Well, there is a
Cuttlefish. Cuttlefish.
Is a
It's a
sotong.
Pokemon.
Yes. So last night when I was having my juhe, I was thinking of Shaun.
So Glenn had an evening where he believed he was chewing on Shaun's arm. Okay.
Yeah. Journey to the abyss.
All right, there you go. You know, because people have been asking, right? Like, okay, you know, what tattoo did Shaun get? Because I mentioned it the other day on a Friday, I think. I said on Monday, you know, we will show everyone
Yes.
Shaun's tattoo, but we forgot about it yesterday. And also, it was peeling rather badly yesterday. It's still peeling.
But yeah, I wanted a show when everything was nice
Yeah.
and not peeling.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But that's a
Okay, put your
that's a
clothes.
cute-
Can you put your
it's a
clothes
cute
back
tattoo.
on,
it's,
Shaun?
it's very.
It doesn't matter.
Shaun, put your clothes
I
back
must
on.
explain. I must explain my tattoo first.
Why? How come? Why are you being so conservative?
That's why.
Because I'm worried about
a
who's watching this.
developing
Anyway,
teen.
yeah, okay, a developing teen is watching this. Okay, let's go.
Oh yeah, so I got a sotong because squids are actually highly intelligent and very adaptable. But whenever we look at a squid, we think sotong, blur.
Exactly.
Sambal.
So people might consider me blur, but I'm actually very smart
There you go.
and also very delicious.
So you see, this is stereotyping the sotong.
Yeah.
Because
True.
you're absolutely right. When people say, "Hey, you're a sotong," it means you're blur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now Shaun has come up to say that, you know, sotongs
Yeah.
are actually
They're quite smart.
smart.
Oh, well
Very
done, Shaun.
adaptable.
Keep it that way. Stay.
Although I don't know
run.
who told you that, but
I mean, the internet, so
okay.
And you know the internet never lies.
never.
Okay.
I didn't even know squids or sotongs have brains even.
Have. And octopuses are actually
Octopi.
Also,
Octopi.
are also very smart. They have
Right.
like 2-3 brains, I think.
Okay.
Isn't that so that's, I mean, when
That's
you
a
say
different-
sotong, I'm thinking
Sotong
octopus,
squid.
right?
No,
Squid.
sotong squid, octopi.
Yeah,
But same
different.
family lah.
Same family, different. They're like cousins.
Okay.
They're like cousins.
All right. So we're
Okay,
talking
getting
about
back.
teenagers.
Yes, yes.
So, Jerry, here's a question from Joel for you. Does early childhood upbringing affect the child's behavior during teenage years? Does it have an effect on them?
Well, throughout the whole developmental stages, right? Different developmental stages is accumulative our experiences, you know. But it doesn't mean that if the childhood is bad, then you have a bad teen or the teen cannot learn something different. It doesn't mean that if you have a bad teenage year or bad teenage years, you cannot be a good adult. So it's not it's not carved in stone. The truth is not carved in stone. It's really in the person's control.
But does it mean that if a child grows up in a environment that is filled with rules and very strict rules, that during their teenage years they may feel very repressed because they don't know how to go out and do this?
It can be. So we've got many teenagers that come in and they feel that they are very restrained, very suffocated, and we help them to understand the background, they understand the experiences, and help them to take back control and to know how to maneuver their own environment and to figure themselves out. Yeah.
I was a very sad teenager. You know why?
Right.
And it was also part of, me being number 6 on Jerry's list, which is awkward looking teen. Because I was very, very thin.
Yeah.
Okay? Very thin to the point where I looked like maybe I had TB or something.
Right.
You know, that thin, right? Very awkward. And I was also pimple faced.
Oh.
Right.
So, you know, that acne, right, really, really made me feel down. I didn't want to face the world. I was thinking, like, how am I going to be this radio star one day if I looked like that and I felt like that, you know? But the funny thing is, after about like 2 years or something like that, everything kind of cleared up on its own. So now thinking back, right, I feel like I lost those 2 years, you know, because those 2 years I couldn't think of anything else but getting the acne under control.
That was
Sorry.
your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid, right?
No, I know exactly what
but
that's
because
like.
so I came to the conclusion I was actually a vain pot, you know. Because some people don't care, you see. But I cared. It's like, my face was like everything, you know. I was just like going to the dermatologist, getting my mom to go to the dermatologist. At one time, I was taking even antibiotics or capsules, something called minocycline, just to control, the acne.
Yeah.
You know, and I was only like, 16 years old?
Wow.
Yeah, but you have to go through that stage. You have to go through the physical development stage,
Right.
and combine with that awareness, right? Like what your body is going through, you know, how things can go wrong and things can go right to prepare you for adulthood, so you
Yeah.
know how to look after your body.
But don't you think
You
I
know,
was like
so-
a little extreme? Like, shouldn't girls be more bothered, you know, when it comes to acne than guys?
Why is there
why?
a gender divide?
No, you shouldn't want. I mean, everybody wants to look good. I mean, whether you're a guy or a girl.
Yeah, but at 15, you know,
Yeah, especially at 15, because you want to look at girls and girls are starting to look at you.
that's true.
So
as
it's
well, actually.
perfectly natural.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Although
Yep.
I will admit that I looked at more girls than girls looked at me, but you know,
Same, FB.
Yeah.
Me and you, the same.
Same for every guy. Like
I think it's the same for every guy.
Okay, we're still talking to Dr. Geraldine Tan about teenagers and all that. I think some of us have more questions
More
for
questions,
Geraldine.
yes.
If you have more questions for Geraldine as well, we are live on Facebook and you can ask Jerry anything you want. Well, not anything you want, but things that are relevant to today's topic, all right?
Yeah.
It is 8:25.
1FM time check by
Okay.
So we're talking about teenagers and why they baffle us. I mean, I went through this 4 times, and each one of them was a completely different scenario because every child is different. So it was a hell of a learning curve for me. But, you know, all these problems that we've been talking about, they're not just problems, Jerry. They lead to stress. They lead to anxiety, even depression at times.
Yep. So that's when we see them. I mean, by the time they come to us, right? We see them a little bit more in a more sad state, and most commonly seen recent years would be the self-injurious behavior. You know, the cutting, the hair pulling, the even eating disorders. Yeah. And I ask many of the young ones, right? Like, why would you want to cut? It is so painful. And they tell me, Auntie Jerry, it's not painful at all. And I said, how can it not be painful, right? And they say when there's so much pain inside and so much confusion in the head, the skin doesn't feel anything. So they actually want to cut so that they can see blood or they can feel something so they know that they are alive. Yeah, so they resort to such methods, right? Please, for the teens listening in, do not cut. Auntie Jerry is not approving of it at all. Throw away all the sharps.
Uncle Glenn said, at most, just pinch yourself until there's you're blue and black, but then don't cut yourself.
No, you
How
shouldn't.
about that?
You shouldn't injure yourself in any way.
But better than cutting one. If you want to feel whether you're alive, you pinch yourself really hard, you will know that you're alive.
No. They do this, you know why?
Why?
You know why they do this?
Why?
Because they have no one to go to.
Yeah.
They can't go to friends.
Yeah, but what I'm saying...
No, wait, let me finish. They can't go to friends and they can't go to parents. And this is why parents of teenagers, you've got to keep your eyes and ears open. You are the first people that your child should be able to go to.
Yeah, easier said than done. If not,
it's true, Glenn. I have to agree
I tell you what is true. True is asking people to pinch themselves rather than cut themselves. That is much better. This is what I'm saying. Y'all may be laughing at me.
No, I'm not laughing at you.
But when you're about to cut yourself, think of what Glenn is saying right now. Put that razor down and pinch yourself instead of cutting yourself.
Okay.
Because there are many people who cut themselves. No, even during our time, I think you probably had friends who used to cut themselves.
Yeah.
I have friends who used to cut themselves as well, and I could not understand why they were doing that.
Yeah.
Imagine at that time seeing your fellow schoolmate come to work with marks on his hand.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember the first time I found out that he was cutting himself, I was just absolutely shocked and in disbelief because you're not in that position, right? And you can't imagine cutting yourself, you know. And so when you see and you hear about your good friend and the reasons why he's cut himself, you think to yourself, wow, you know, I can't relate to that.
Yeah.
You know.
So what can parents do, Jerry?
If you see your child cutting, don't scold them about it cutting. Okay, the last thing you want is to push them further away. Instead, just hold them. Just hold them, and by this time they need someone to talk to. Ask them who they want to talk to. I know parents get a bit kanchiong, so they get very worried and they start asking this uncle, this auntie to come and talk to the teen. They start bringing to the religious leaders or to the priests. And then the teens get really annoyed. They say, but these people, I cannot click with them. I need someone. And typically these teens know who they want to talk to.
Right.
So listen to them unless they're really clueless.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Traffic update coming up.
1FM 91.3 traffic.
Well, we've got wet roads out there, I can tell you that much, and we've got the usual delays across the expressways. All that shouldn't surprise you too much. Let's take a look at the specific areas that you need to look out for this morning. You need to look out for the BKE towards the PIE, a vehicle broken down after the KJE exit. PIE towards Tuas, an accident before Clementi Avenue 6. Congestion is to Clementi Road. CTE towards the SLE, an accident after Mulmain Road exit, avoid lane 4. SLE towards the CTE, an accident after Woodlands Avenue 12. Congestion is to Woodlands Avenue 2. TPE towards the PIE, an accident after Pasir Ris Drive 8. Congestion is to Pasir Ris Drive 12. On the KJE towards the BKE, a vehicle broken down after Woodlands Road exit. Please stay within the speed limit. Have everyone buckled up. Drive safely today.
Good morning, Singapore. It's Glenn and the Flying Dutchman. Producer Shaun Tupas, Ivan Ranton, and Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. It is Therapy Tuesday. We're talking about teenagers. And, we've been talking about teenagers for the past half an hour.
Yeah.
And I have come up with the conclusion that throughout the years, right, and probably even in future, teenagers will be teenagers because the kind of problems that we have brought up today, we have seen from back in the day.
Yeah.
So why is it teenagers behave like that, or why are teenagers so, I'm going to use the word, okay, teenagers, not all teenagers, but I think the majority of teens, why are they so problematic? What is the root of this? Is it the parents?
Interesting. Jerry.
Let's not blame the parents. I mean, we all want to find a scapegoat. But let's just say that this is a phase that all of us have to go through. Right? And earlier I did mention, they're trying to find their identity. They're very confused about their roles. So that's why there's a lot of these existential crises. Why am I put on earth? Why am I born? What am I living for? So these questions, what do this tell us? I'm trying to find my role on earth. I'm trying to find my space. I'm trying to find my footing somewhere, something to anchor myself. And until they can find that, and it's not for us to define because they need to define it themselves, right? Until they can find that, they will continue to go on this crusade to search for it.
But are you saying that all teenagers go through this phase or not?
Yeah, all teenagers go through this confusion, this what is my role on earth? What am I born on earth to do? Because this is the stage that they are really thinking about it. But so if they think that my role on earth is to, steal, perhaps, right? Then and to join this gang, not to steal, but to join a gang and to belong in this group, right? Then I would do what they do, even if it includes rioting and stealing. Now I refer to that because my background was also with a lot of teens on the Gardens program, those that are caught for minor offences, the BPC program, Beyond Parental Control, and the pre-complaint, where parents go to court and literally say, I cannot look after my child, take my child away, please look after my child.
Wow.
So, yeah.
But you see, Jerry, I'm sure when you were a teen, you didn't do any of these things. You didn't go out there to steal. You didn't cut yourself. I'm talking about this because, you know why? I'm sure you've got friends who have done things like that. I had friends who used to go to Parkway Parade and steal all the time during, secondary school days, right? But I didn't join them. So what I'm saying is, I did go through, a hard time. It was very difficult time for me, but I didn't go out there and steal. I didn't cut myself. Okay. So
let me ask you a question, Glenn. Did you feel that you had a sense of belonging? Did you belong to a family?
Yes.
See, there's your advantage over others. Some do not have that sense of belonging.
Which is why I brought up what I brought up, you see. Is it the fault of parents? But, I mean, Jerry is right to say, okay, let's not, we don't want, like, people to have, like, scapegoats, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But what I'm saying here is there must be a root to this problem because not all teenagers, right, go on to do these things. You know, we all go through our teenage phase, but not everyone is problematic. Some of us just go through it without causing any problems to anyone, and we figure things out on our own, right? But there are some who are a little bit more emotionally disturbed and stressed, right, Jerry?
Yes, so it also depends on the adolescent's personality, the environment. It needs to have a lot of different areas or the stars aligning for them to do certain things. So I'm a little bit hesitant to blame the parents, because oftentimes by the time parents come to me, they're broken, very guilty, you know, and I think we must remember that every parent, whatever they do, right, they do the best that they can in under whatever circumstances and whatever life gives them. So that's why I find it very difficult to kind of pinpoint and say parents are the only cause of the issues.
Yeah.
You know, although it's far too easy to point that finger towards them.
Right.
Yeah.
Ivan?
So, Dr. Jerry, maybe from a teen's point of view, I think teens these days find it hard to communicate to parents about the problems they are facing day to day, be it stress at school, the way they look, even boy or girl relationship. So, how do we approach it? Maybe you want to do it on Facebook Live?
Okay.
Okay. In the meantime, here's Air Supply with Goodbye on 1FM 91.3.
And we're back.
Okay, so how do we approach... Ivan, you want to ask that question again so everybody gets it?
Okay. What do I say?
About
Okay, teens these
communicating.
days, find it very hard to communicate to their parents about the problems that they're facing, be it stress at school, the way they look, or even boy-girl relationships. So, from your point, how do we approach it?
Well, school is one major area that can educate them about the avenues, about the resources. Most schools have school counselors. I'm still unsure why many teens find it so worrying to go to their school counselors, but I would encourage them to go to their school counselors, because these are wonderful people. My colleagues and I are all on hand to chat with them, and sometimes the teen only needs to clear their heads. So they need to check in with us maybe once or twice. They don't need to have long-term therapy or something like that. So not to scare anyone off, right? Yeah. Closer to the themselves, right? Their friends, they would already have gone to Google. They would already go on to a trusted auntie or uncle is often very, very useful, where it is things are spoken in confidence, and just a listening ear would suffice. They don't need solutions sometimes. If they are, so if we look at that sense of belonging, sometimes religious groups are wonderful, where they are very embracing and they can guide the young teen with values and certain directions also. And some of the teens do find it quite useful.
Jerry, just let me bring up something. This is from personal experience, right? When we talk about school counselors are an amazing group of people, but they have to fight a problem. And I'm going to talk to school counselors from a student's perspective, because I heard this from a student. Why don't you go and talk to your school counselor? The answer was, what makes you think he's going to keep it to himself?
Yes.
That is the fear. Confidentiality is the biggest fear a teenager has when they have to talk to someone else. They are going to tell someone else, and then everybody is going to look at me funny.
Yes.
That's the fear.
Understand.
Which is why I don't understand, Jerry, that, why don't these teenagers talk to their parents instead? Why is it so hard for them to talk to their parents?
Because their parents are trying to earn a living, Glenn.
That is no excuse. That is no bloody excuse.
I know, but it's tough.
No, it's tough.
I mean, I'm appalled hearing that from you, FD.
It is
that
true.
That
It
you
is true.
outwardly just said that. I'm not saying that it's you.
It's not me, but it
for
is-
parents
it
to say
is-
that, right? I feel it's wrong.
I-
You cannot say, like, oh yeah, I'm busy all day,
No.
earning a living, and that's the reason why I can't talk to you guys. No,
I understand what you're saying, but the reality is those parents come home from work and they are exhausted. They are absolutely exhausted. It is no excuse, but it is the reality.
Well, let me put it from a different perspective. The teens will tell me, so I would ask them, what makes it difficult to go to mom and dad? And they say, I don't want to worry mom and dad. I want to learn how to deal with things on my own.
I can accept that.
I feel uncomfortable talking about certain topics to them. Or some of them would say, but I think I already know the answer, what the answer that they're going to give. And I don't want to hear that answer. So the teens are able to give us their explanation why. And it's not because the parents are too busy to sit down and listen to them. But sometimes we must remember that our teens are also very compassionate people and very kind people. So, sometimes we literally have to sit the parent and teen down to talk in sessions.
Right.
Yeah, to have an open conversation.
Okay.
Because I think in many cases I was extremely lucky because of the relationships I built with my girls, and I built them very young. So yes, there was daddy, but there was the friend. So when it came to boy and girl problems, stuff like that, they had no problem communicating with me. If they had issues at school, they didn't have a problem because they weren't necessarily communicating with me as daddy all the time. They were communicating with me as a friend. So and I had to respond as a friend and not as a parent.
Yeah, and that is often very difficult. I'm so happy.
It is very hard.
Yeah. I'm so happy that FD you managed to balance that. But for most parents and for most Asian parents, we don't know how to be a parent and a friend. So that's our difficulty. So if we can outsource that part, let's outsource that part also.
I think
not that.
I think it's perfectly okay to be firm with your kid. I think the problem with most parents, based on my observation right now, is they are neither here nor there, especially these days, right? They don't want to be too hard on their kid. At the same time, they end up being a bit too soft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, I think the kid can sense, right, if you are confident. It's either you need to be firm when you're bringing up your kid, right? Because if you just let them go and expect them to just express themselves and learn things for themselves, that's when there will be a disconnect, because there's no proper communication between parent and child, you see. So that could be one of the problems. Like just now we were talking about, like, teenagers, why they go and stun things, so to speak, or steal things, whether it's a dare or otherwise or whatever, right? How would a parent discourage their kid from doing something like that? My father just very simply said, if you get caught stealing, I will make sure I'll send you to the police station. Or, if you get caught stealing, you come home, I'm going to chop your hand off. Of course, I mean, you know that he's not, but you know how serious he is when it comes to that. And you don't want to dishonor your family, so to speak, because why? It's not like, why are you doing it? Right? It is a shameful thing if you get caught for shoplifting.
Yeah.
It's stealing. Stealing is wrong.
Yeah.
So just that one little lesson once upon a time, right? You learn.
With you.
It stays with you.
It stays with you.
Something like that just stays with you. So, I think if parents are a little bit more firm and confident, things might be better.
It's interesting because Madeline on our Facebook page, Jerry, has said that no matter what she's doing, if her child comes to her, she gives her child 200%. She literally drops whatever she's doing, whether she's cleaning or cooking or whatever, it stops. because her child has come to her and her child wants to talk. And I wish more parents could do that, because building that kind of relationship is difficult. It is massively difficult. You will get disappointed so many times. You will.
Yes.
But at
Yes.
the end of the day, and I can say this now because my children are all in their late 20s and 30s, the bond is unbreakable. It is absolutely unbreakable. That's
Amazing.
what parents need to do.
I'm inspired, FD.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired.
Oh, there are many things I've learned as a parent. We'll come back and I'll give you a couple of other tips that I've learned in my time
Maybe
as a parent.
the next topic should be on parenting.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Here we go.
Kylie Minogue with the Locomotion right here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. We have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room with us.
Yay. And we have FD today giving us tips.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's just stuff. It's just stuff I've learned. I think being a friend and a parent, that's the first thing you need to do. You need to teach your children to express themselves, even in front of you. At times, that can be very painful, because you will do something and they will express themselves and it will hurt. But you've got to be able to take it. The other thing, you've got to have rules. I agree with Glenn. There are rules. There have to be rules, right? But the two things that I find as a parent that you have to remember is, one, do not live your life through your children. Don't push your children to do things that you never could do as a child. That is very, very bad. They are not you.
I love that, FD. I really love that.
They are not you.
And can you repeat that once again for all the parents out there?
Do not live your life through your children. Don't make them do things that you never had a chance to do as a child. And the other thing is, when they do something wrong, take a moment and remember when you were a teenager.
Okay.
It will help you understand why they do what they do. Because you were there once. But when we become parents, we forget that we were once teenagers.
You weren't very much of a disciplinarian, were you?
No. I did not spare the rod, Glenn.
I think FD had it easy because he had daughters. If he had sons, whoa.
No. You know through our career how many parents have criticized me because, yes, I did cane my children up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And no one can understand that because there are rules and certain things deserve certain punishments.
Yeah, I criticized him as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
how can you cane a girl?
Yeah.
You can cane a guy, but you can't cane a girl.
But having said that, my children do not hold it against me because I've actually asked them. But they have said that they would find a different way of disciplining.
Okay.
So it's quite, you see, they're open, they openly express themselves to me. So just bear these things in mind.
But what do you think, Jerry? Should parents cane their daughters? I have a problem with that, no? Like
Yes, he's
sons,
always had a problem with that.
sons, you can use the whip, the hanger,
Yeah.
the cane, the
Why, yo?
golf club, whatever. It's
Why,
okay,
yo?
for a guy. But then the girl, I can't. If I had a daughter,
guy or girl, they need to have boundaries, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes these are consequences that we meet out. But I'm very impressed that FD actually used the rod.
I did. I did.
I did parenting talks, and when I said I used the rod, I had parents just walk out of my bookshelf.
Yeah. But, Jerry, I must qualify, yeah? I never used the rod without an explanation. You must
That's
understand why the rod is being used in this instance, but you did that and I didn't give you the rod. But I gave you the rod here. Why? It needs to be explained. And once the rod is given, it's over. You cannot remain angry with the child.
I'm against the rod.
There are a lot of parents who are, and I totally understand you guys. I totally
yeah.
understand you guys. This was just my way of.
Anyway,
parenting.
Ivan has one of each. He's got a son and a daughter.
Yeah.
So how do you discipline your son and how do you discipline your daughter?
I think it's the same way as the wife does it. We first speak to them and understand the situation, the problem, like how FD does it as well. And if you need to be punished, of course, we've tried many methods. Sit down the wall, face the wall.
Yeah.
You can, understand the problems that you did, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yes and no. The cane, yes. I mean, if you've done something really, really bad, once in a while.
You'll
But
cane your
after
son,
that-
but you won't cane your daughter, right?
Accidentally, I know.
Accidentally rubbish.
See?
Nonsense.
Ivan and myself are the same. If I had one of each, I will cane the son, but I won't cane the daughter. That's for sure.
No, but
Spoil
Your
her.
your son will actually be, I feel, emotionally affected by that. How
Yeah,
come
so-
I get it, she doesn't? Because they see themselves as equals.
I totally agree with FD. Why, if you smack the boy and then you don't smack the
Because they're
girl,
different,
they
right?
say,
Guys
it's
and
not
girls are
fair."
different.
At a young
No,
age,
no,
they
it's
don't
not.
see it. They don't see it.
Yeah, they don't see it that way. So it needs to be fair. If you smack him, you got to smack her too. So it's fair. But I've got a question for FD. How do I say no to high heels or short skirt? I don't know how to react, bro. I don't know how. If my daughter comes up to me, I don't wear high heels, I don't wear short skirt.
How
How
old is
do I
your daughter?
react?
How old is your daughter?
15.
Is your daughter a good girl?
Yes, she is.
Okay. No. I'm going to ask you a question. Is your daughter a good girl?
Yes, she is.
Can you trust your daughter?
Yes, I
Have
can.
you taught your daughter how to handle boys?
Yep. Knock them in the nuts.
Okay, there you go.
Then what's wrong with high heels and a short skirt?
No, but I just don't know how to react to it once I see it high heels and short skirt,
You put
know?
the boundary on how high the heels are and how short the skirt is.
Okay.
You put the boundary there. You want short skirt, I'll allow it up to this point. You want high heels, I'll allow them up to that point. And as she grows older, it evolves.
I disagree. At 15, no short skirt, no high heels. At 15. I'm talking
It's
about
possible.
15.
It's possible.
It's very clear for me, but I'm not a parent, so
Yeah.
I can't say. But,
Jerry, how?
But if I had a daughter who wanted to wear high heels and a short skirt at the age of 15, clearly no.
Jerry,
Yeah, Jerry.
I like the questions that FD asked Ivan, and it's important for parents to remember that you need to trust yourself that you've taught your children the values, you've
Yeah.
imparted all the values to them, and then you say, go out and face the world. Come back to mom and dad if you face any challenges or if you face any danger. We are here for you.
Perfect.
that's the one. That's the one. Because remember, Ivan, I'll tell you this now.
Yeah.
You will be 90 years old, and your children will be 40 and 50, and they'll still be coming back to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It never stops, yeah? It never stops.
Okay, speaking of stop, we got to stop right here. I just realized it's 8:50 already. Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
I
No
know.
way.
And we were hearing Dr. Mark Van Kuylenberg talk.
Yeah.
That's why.
Nice.
Okay.
He's the guru.
It's the doctor of life. What are we talking about?
Okay,
Yes.
Jerry. Yeah.
I
over to
will end with two quotes from Dear Evan Hansen. I think it's a popular musical that the teens love. So I'm going to share that. I haven't watched it myself, so I will watch it one day. But they love the music from it and the story. So I'm going to end with two. One for the teens. And in the finale, this was what was said. Dear Evan Hansen, today is going to be a great day, and here's why. Because today, at least, you are you, and well, that's enough.
Wow. You are you
Yeah.
and well, that's enough.
Yes, and the other one for the parents, and although it's directed at mom, just remember that I'm directing at the parents, and it's from the song, So Big, So Small, and it goes, your mom isn't going anywhere. Your mom is staying right here no matter what. I'll be here.
Oh,
Nice. Very nice, Jerry.
that's cool. And all parents should be like that. They
Yeah.
should be there for their kids.
All the time.
All right, check in with your kids today, parents.
Good
All
one,
right?
Glenn.
Check in with your kids today. Thank you very much, Jerry.
No worries, and we ran over time, but it's okay.
We look forward to being with you once again next Tuesday. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Tuesday. No
Bye,
worries.
Jerry.
Bye, Jerry.
Bye bye.